Once upon a time, in a vast and bustling anthill, deep in the heart of a lush forest, there lived a small, determined ant named Arya. Unlike many of her fellow ants, Arya was born with a slightly smaller frame and a different colored exoskeleton, making her stand out. Though she was just as hardworking as any other ant, Arya often found herself struggling to keep up with the rest of the colony. Arya's daily life was filled with challenges. The tasks assigned to her were often too heavy or too difficult, and despite her best efforts, she was frequently told she wasn't fast enough or strong enough. But Arya had a spirit that refused to be broken. She believed that her size and appearance didn't define her worth or capability. One day, as the colony was preparing for the harsh winter ahead, a massive storm swept through the forest. The wind howled and the rain poured down in torrents, flooding the anthill and scattering the ants in every direction. In the chaos, the queen and many of the worker ants were swept away by the rising water, leaving the colony in disarray. Arya, despite her small size, managed to cling to a piece of bark and floated to safety. When the storm finally subsided, she looked around and saw that many of her fellow ants were injured or lost. The food stores had been destroyed, and the colony was on the brink of collapse. Determined to save her home, Arya set out on a perilous journey through the forest to find food and help for her colony. She ventured into parts of the forest that were dark and unfamiliar, facing dangers that would have daunted even the strongest of ants. She navigated treacherous terrain, escaped predators, and outsmarted obstacles that seemed impossible to overcome. After days of travel, Arya found a hidden grove filled with an abundance of food. But the path back to the anthill was even more dangerous, with predators lurking and the weather growing colder. Despite the odds, Arya carefully gathered as much food as she could carry and began the long journey home. As she neared the anthill, she encountered other ants from her colony who had survived the storm but were lost and disoriented. Arya led them back to the anthill, sharing her food and guiding them safely through the forest. When Arya finally returned to the anthill, she was greeted with cheers and gratitude. The food she had brought back was enough to sustain the colony through the winter, and her bravery had saved countless lives. The queen, who had been found and returned to the anthill, praised Arya for her courage and resourcefulness. From that day forward, Arya was no longer seen as the small, different ant. She was celebrated as a hero, and her story became a legend in the colony. She proved that even the smallest and seemingly weakest among us can make a difference, as long as we have the heart and determination to persevere. Arya's struggle had transformed her life, and she became a symbol of hope and resilience for all the ants in the colony. Her story was passed down through generations, inspiring countless other ants to believe in themselves and to never give up, no matter how difficult the journey might seem.